Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Yeah, I Said It. And before I jump into the program, I want to wish everyone out there who's tuning into the show right now, I want to wish you guys a happy holidays. The holidays are getting kicked off this week with Thanksgiving. I want to hope that all of you guys and gals that are listening to the program bring it in safely. Make sure you guys spend some time being festive, eating food with family and having fun and watching football. So it's the F's when it comes to the holidays. So make sure you do all of those things: food, football, family. Make sure you bring it in, put on a couple of pounds, and make sure you don't eat as healthy as Jeff during the holidays. And big up to my co-host of the Standard is the Standard, Jeff Hartman. Big up to him. Big up to Dave Schofield, the co-editor of BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. Jeff is the also, I think Jeff is the editor overall. And big up to Who's Bad, the infamous bad man of the podcast of the network. Hashtag 2 a.m. Hashtag just take it. Big up also to Tony DeFeo, and big up to everybody who participates in bringing you all of this outstanding Steeler content. Before I jump into the program, given that it's the holidays, I know, with your hard-earned money, not telling you to contribute to the program, but if you can in a non-monetary way, make sure you subscribe to the show. We're trying to get to 6,000 subscriptions by the time the year is over. Make sure you hit the like button, pound that like button, because if we get like 2,000 people watching the video, we should have 2,000 likes. So pound that, pound the subscription. Also, if you want to give a super chat, and that's where you can hit the $ button in the corner of the screen and get your question at the top of the queue. Make sure you hit that. That's a way to directly contribute to the program. So make sure you help us out. You subscribe, you like the videos, and if you want to do a super chat, you do a super chat. Now, the title of this program is Yeah, I Said It. Myles Garrett is playing a very dangerous game. Now, unless you're living under a rock, you've all probably read that Myles Garrett is claiming that Mason Rudolph called him a racial epithet, and that is what sparked his actions. Now, let me give you a couple of reasons why I think Myles Garrett is playing a very dangerous game. And I want to give props to Jeff and to Dave Schofield for kind of reeling me in when it comes to this show, in this topic, because at times when you talk about racial matters, at times it could go a little left, it could go a little right, but I'm approaching 50 years old. I've been having racial discussions probably for 35 years, intelligently, in my opinion. So I think I have the chops to keep it pretty much an even kill. So here's the reason why I think it's very dangerous. And I'm going to speak to Sean Toner's point. Big up to Sean Toner. Myles Garrett is playing a very dangerous game because unless you can prove your accusation, you are playing with someone's integrity, and that opens you up to a civil case. Claiming that someone is a racist is a very, very, very serious accusation. It harms that person's character. It frames that person in a certain light. And it is just entirely unfair if the claim cannot be corroborated, proven, or is untrue. Now, I don't know Mason Rudolph. The only thing I can go on is what the captain has said of the Steelers, Cam Hayward, and what other Steeler players have said. I don't know him. I don't know him personally. I know as a black man in America, I've been in some situations where things have been hot and people have said some things that they regret, and that may not be a statement that is indicative of a person's character. People get emotional, things get said, and they might not actually mean it. I'm not saying that Mason Rudolph said those things. I was not on the field. I can only go by what is being reported that he didn't say it. He didn't say that, and that he does not have the character of a person who would say that. And the vouch is coming from African American players from the Steelers and the captains of the squad. So Myles Garrett is playing a very dangerous game because it opens himself up, in my opinion, to civil litigation. And you are playing with someone's integrity and trying to bring shame and tarnish to their name. The other reason why I think Myles Garrett is playing a very dangerous game is, one, racial allegations should never be made lightly, because an allegation in and of itself is very hard to prove. Now, the NFL has said that they monitored the tapes. I guess they have audio, on-field audio, and that there are mics that are recording stuff. And we hear some of the players say stuff during the field. So there are definitely mics that are running. And the NFL is saying that they couldn't pick up anything. They did not hear anything. They did not hear whatever epithet. And we probably all are going to guess that it was probably the N-word. I'm speculating there, but I'm guess that is probably the allegation, that the NFL didn't hear it. And so it's very dangerous to make that type of allegation if it was not true. And the reason why it's doubly dangerous, and the third reason, is the burden of proof for an African American player has now doubled or tripled if indeed the racial allegation that Myles Garrett made is false. And everybody seems to think that it's false. That is very dangerous. That is very dangerous for African American players who are called racial epithets. And it's very dangerous to be playing with an allegation like that. That should not be made lightly. And again, to my first point, when you play with someone's integrity, that can open you up for civil litigation. And what it does is it calls into question also your integrity. So let me jump into the super chat question before I jump into why I think what he's saying is untrue. And so Isaac Aguilera, big up to Isaac for the super chat. And thank you for the contribution. He said, if Myles is lying, he's just not hurting himself, but the Black community as a whole. And that's sort of my number three. I don't think he hurts the Black community as a whole. I don't think he has the power to do that. I think who he is hurting is Black players in the league who have those allegations, because if he cries wolf, it makes it harder for the next player who may have that allegation to prove it, or for people to give that person the benefit of the doubt. This is an unfortunate incident. And the reason why I think he's not telling the truth, and big up to Dave Schofield for this one. He wrote the following. If Garrett thought this was something that would play into his suspension, why didn't he say it before they issued the suspension in the first place? Because if he comes out with the allegation immediately, it lends to credibility, to his credibility, that it may have happened. Also, if you bring that into play and that's part of the evaluation, then possibly it could help lessen your fine. It brings some context to your actions. And also, it could cause a suspension or a greater penalty to Mason Rudolph and the Steelers. Because if somebody called me that, I would say that immediately. That would be the first thing that I would say. He called me this, and this is why I did this. Now, it doesn't excuse his actions, because I was taught when somebody calls you that you have to maintain your cool, You have to maintain your composure, and you cannot allow an outside force to dictate your actions. Because if you do, you have given that person all and complete power in the situation. So that's why when Dave made that point, it made me go, huh, that's a very good point. If Mason Rudolph had called him that, he would have said that immediately. And that changes the dynamic of how we all view this. Here's another thing that Dave said, and big up again to Dave Schofield. How come he told nobody else about it until the appeal? Because it didn't happen, right? And this is why I don't think it happened. He pulled this out of left field. This was the home run swing, in my opinion, to get his appeal reduced. So let me go to my trump card, so to speak. And I hate to use card in the context of racial discussions because racism is real. It impacts numerous lives, and it's not a game. But I feel like this was the home run swing that he did. He tried to swing for the fences to change the entire narrative around him being a guy that is a violent player who swings helmets at people, to try to change the frame, the context, and the narrative. But how can you not tell somebody until the appeal? Wouldn't that be salient information that you would want to give the NFLPA and or your representation to help reduce your fine and or suspension? So not only is he, possibly violent on the field and not in control of his emotions, he's also not smart, because if it happened, this is information that you would absolutely want to come out immediately. And Dave also wrote, and now he's surprised that this came out for everyone to hear because he thought he could lie about it in the appeal and it wouldn't do anything else. Now he has to double down on his lie. When you come out with it and you say it, now you got to double down on the lie. So now you got to make it seem as if the lie is the truth. And then you look like a fool when nobody corroborates your claim. I mean, nobody on the Browns is saying they heard Rudolph say it. The NFL isn't saying they heard Rudolph say it. And the Steelers aren't saying they heard Rudolph say it. And best believe, if a Steeler player heard Rudolph say it, they would say it. They would not go to bat for Rudolph. They would say, he said it. I can't get down with that. They need to punish him, and we're going to handle this behind closed doors. They would not ride for Mason Rudolph if Mason Rudolph used the N-word to describe Myles Garrett in that conflict. I can probably be 100% certain for that, because the use of the N-word by somebody white to describe somebody black, that's a non-starter. That's disqualifying. All your cool points, you've used them all up instantly. So they're not going to ride for Mason if that was a part of Mason Rudolph's character. And so Dave also said the following, and I agree with it. If he really did say it, Garrett was wrong for not bringing it up because it could have factored into Rudolph's punishment. Exactly. And I might be saying this again. Why wouldn't you say it? I mean, at the end of the day, the Browns and the Steelers, or the Clowns and the Steelers, are adversaries. Why would you not say it so Rudolph could get punished? If somebody said that to me, it would come out immediately. I would want that player punished immediately, and the organization. So why wait? When you throw all of these things together, I think the young man got caught up in it. And he's playing a very dangerous game for the reasons I stated, playing with somebody's integrity, minimizing racial allegations, and increasing the burden of proof for the next African American player if he faces the same situation. Myles Garrett is young. I blame him, his representation. Somebody is not advising him well. They are not advising him well at all. You can't play with this. This isn't a game. This type of stuff impacts people's lives. If you are going to make this allegation, it better be true. You better have proof, because you just can't play with this. This isn't the line to play with. You can't do it. He's trying to cover himself, cover his fanny, and switch the narrative using the only way he could do it. He's chosen the nuclear option. And unfortunately for him, there's no evidence that it occurred. Now he's stuck. You can't walk this back. If he walks it back, he looks even worse. So now he has to ride or die with it. He needs some time away from the game. He needs some time to work this all out. What he should have done was accept the fine and move off into the sunset and just deal with the fine, get himself together, and come back and play next year. Maybe you appeal just because you want to exercise all your rights in the matter, but you appeal with the expectation that it's not going to work. This is the consequence of your action. Because even if Mason Rudolph had said it, he still should have got punished, Myles Garrett. He still should have been suspended. Because even if he said it, that does not excuse him swinging a helmet at another guy. If you want to handle that, there's a bunch of ways you can handle that. Hell, it's football. He was abusing Alejandro Villanueva anyway. So if you want to handle that, calm down, chill, put that in the memory bank, and get after his ass in the next 2 weeks. You had another game in about 15 days. Get after him then, get 5 to 6 sacks, and put it on him. And put hot sauce on every single sack. Because in football, there is a way to physically exercise a physical toll on a person in a game within the rules. Because the way I would have done it would have been like, this is what this dude said. We're going to get this dude in 2 weeks. I don't want y'all to say nothing, do nothing stupid. But when we go to Heinz Field, let's get after his ass. Let's go get 10 sacks, win the game, and punish him. And keep saying something to him about it every time we hit him. That's how you deal with it. But he's a young cat. He's not mature yet. And I think he's just flat out lying. I think he's just flat out lying. The way he handled it does not add up. I've had this happen to me. I said something immediately, and I shared some stuff with Jeff in text that I may not I don't think I'm going to share on the show. But I've had multiple ways at dealing with this situation. One of them, I'm not going to share those, but maybe if we had like some secret code or something, I could do it. But I don't feel comfortable sharing those. Jeff knows what they are, and let's just say, well, Football Drones is saying share. Well, let me give you the one way I did it. Well, there are a variety of ways to skin the cat. So let's just say I was called that by an individual when I was in college. And let's just say that the individual who called me that had an attractive girlfriend. What I did was asked one of my boys to see if he could pursue said female. And he did. It worked out. and you guys can kind of figure out the rest. And we brought the information to the person, broke his heart. He took the dude's girl, and the story was history. It was poetic justice. The guy's heart was shattered because he really liked the girl. She didn't like him. She ended up really liking my friend. Really liking my friend. So that was the way that I did it. So there are varieties of ways to do it. And stop at Night Rider 16. So there are a variety of ways to do it. So you just have to be creative. Myles Garrett, there were opportunities for Myles Garrett to do it within the rules of a football game. And that's what I think everybody would accept. If that really happened, that's the way to do it. That's the way to absolutely do it. But with that, let's switch reels a little bit. And if you guys have some questions in the live chat, please hit the live chat button. Hit the $5 or hit the button at the end or the $ button. You can contribute to the show. But if you guys have any questions on it, what are your thoughts on it? Or we could just jump into the football side of the game. Stop at Night Rider 16. If you guys are on the live chat, absolutely hilarious. What he's doing, I just can't control my laughter. But that was my way. I have a side of me that I will admit can be quite devious. And I'm not really like that now because I'm older, but back then it was definitely chess over checkers. So, let me jump into a question from North Top. Can Tua fall to the second round? I could see Tua falling to the second round, but I don't think I think the injury issues are the injury concerns are a big issue with Tua. But on this football game, going up against the Bengals, don't get it twisted. This is going to be a tough game for the Steelers, particularly with James Conner out and with Juju officially out. This is going to be a very tough game. You have your best wide receiver out, and I guess we'll talk to it. I'm not sure if Deontay Johnson, Deontay Johnson cleared the concussion protocol. I'm not sure, but whether he did or not, it's going to be really tough. I mean, it's going to be really tough offensively. I feel like this is a game where the Steelers defense is going to have to ride. We ride, re-ride, and they're going to have to ride. They're going to have to go out. They're going to have to go out and get this. Snowman put a $2 in a super chat, big up in a tip jar. He asked, can Myles Garrett come back from this? This is football. This is the National Football League. I mean, what some of these guys have done in the National Football League. He'll be back. You know why he'll be back? Because he's probably the most ridiculous physical specimen in the National Football League, and he's an elite premier pass rusher. As long as he puts production on the field and gets those sacks, it's the National Football League. He'll be back. Character does not matter in the National Football League. You guys know that by now. Character does not matter at all. So Dallas Quinley asked, will the Steelers trade Mason at the end of the year because of what Garrett accused him of? Absolutely not. I mean, when Cam Hayward vouches for you, the captain of the team, no way. They don't think he did it. And there's no evidence to suggest that he did do it. So they're going to absolutely ride for him. And to Ryan Kellerman's point, Ray Lewis allegedly killed somebody. He'll be back. He'll be back. It just doesn't matter. The National Football League, it doesn't matter. The only way you're going to be eliminated from the league is if you do something that is extreme, if Aaron Hernandez or Ray Caruth. Short of that, you'll have a helmet on. Look at Josh Gordon. Josh Gordon was drafted like 8 years ago, and he hasn't hit unrestricted free agency yet. So, he'll be back. Absolutely be back. Gyro asked, will this be a breakout game for one of the receivers? No, it won't. Because of the quarterback. The quarterback's not good enough to make it a breakout game for any of the receivers. Let me ask a question from North Top. Do you think Garrett mixed up Rudolph with a black player who said it? That's interesting, North Top. And let me look at it this way. There are some nuance to the word, to the N word, because, and I don't really want to get into the nuance to it, but let's just say African Americans don't call each other the N word that ends in ER. African Americans call themselves or ourselves, whatever, the one that ends with GA. So there is a difference amongst my community, not the ER, but the GA. So there wouldn't have been any misinterpretation from a black player, or because a black player wouldn't have said it, probably ending with the ER. And that's how I mean, this is a lot of speculation and assumption, and that's what I'm assuming that Rudolph would have said. He wouldn't have used GGA; he would have used ER. Let me just leave it at that. Let me jump into Tom Vallejo's question because I live in Vallejo. He asked, so now, even though Mason didn't say it, do you think Mason will be a marked man on the field? That's an interesting question. I don't think so. I think a lot of it will depend on the vouch that he got. And he got a vouch from Cam Hayward. And from what I've heard about Cam Hayward and his reputation in the league, that his reputation is solid. And so he's got the vouch from Cam Hayward. He's got a vouch from the Steeler organization. He's got a vouch from that locker room. And trust me, guys are off wax talking about this. So I would imagine that the Steeler teammates are riding for Mason Rudolph off wax. Claude Bishop asks, do you think we should have kept Josh Dobbs? No way. Josh Dobbs can't play. Dallas Quinley also asked, what would the refs do if they heard a racial slur used during a game? That's interesting. I don't know what the rules are, and if somebody could find them out for me, I don't know if there's anything in the CBA. I would hope that they would eject the player, because if you call somebody that in a game and they're allowed to play in the game, it's football. Guys are going to retaliate, and you don't want guys retaliating in football. You want to keep it clean, because guys can hurt each other on every single play, so you wouldn't want that. Bill Davis chimed in. I remember this. Kerry Collins, Carolina Panthers, got beat up in a bar by his offensive lineman for calling them the one that ends with the GA. Well, there's some unwritten rules. There's some unwritten rules with this. That's a word that, the way I was raised, I don't use it so much in my age now, but that was a word, no matter how you phrase it, that, only African Americans could use. And so I'm not surprised. And I remember that for people in my age group, in my age cohort, you might get scraped if you use that in the wrong context. I'm just saying. Gyro asked, do you think the Steelers could bring in someone like J.K. Dobbins from college next year? I'm going to apologize. I'm bad with college players. I'm pretty bad with college players. I'm not sure. Big up to Earl Lewis, 15201. But again, this is going to be a tough game. There's a lot going on out here in the Steeler universe. Hopefully they're focused, because they have to win this game. And I agree with Dave and Jeff. If they lose this game, it's season over. Solarverse 6 asks, what do you think is worse, if Mason said the slur or if Myles lied about the slur? Would a lie be ugly enough for the NFL to say there isn't any auto? I think saying the slur would be worse. Be honest. I mean, I'm a black man in America. I'm African American. The slur is worse to me than lying about the slur. I don't think there's an equivalency there. I think they're both bad, but I think the slur is worse. Mr. T, Steelers fan 1223 asks, remember when Jack Lambert wrestled with the Dallas Cowboys player and threw him down to the ground in the Super Bowl back in the 70s? Nobody went after Lambert after that tussle. That was the rule of the game. I mean, that's how the game was played then. That's how it was. And, hey, it was Jack Lambert. They didn't want that action. It was Jack Lambert. They didn't want that action. Point blank, it was Jack Lambert. You think you're going to rush Jack Lambert when Joe Green is around? And that front four is around? LC? All them boy. No, nobody wanted that action. Nobody wanted that action. Um, Ali Howard said the lie is worse because it sets blacks back via stupidity. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'll disagree with that a little bit. Is it time to move on from Connor next year? Is it time? Is it time? Absolutely, it's time for sure. I mean, Hunt, Chubb, Mixon are all better backs in the division. Yes, they need to move on from him. He is not a number one back. He's a hell of a compliment. He's hell of a complimentary, but no, it's time to move on from him. Yeah, NVR or NDR said, yeah, we need to move on. Absolutely. It's been time. He also chimed in NVR, NDR. It's hard to read these online. I got glasses. It's hard to read. He said, let's get CJ Anderson. That is pretty funny. And you're right. Connor isn't durable enough, but he also isn't good enough. There are plays being blocked well enough to get yards, but he is missing them. The Steelers are in a banged up way on offense. I mean, you have Connor out. Your backs are going to be Benny Snell, Benny No Jets. You're going to have James Conner, Edmonds. I mean, nothing on the Steelers' offense is scary. And you have Pouncey out. You put BJ Finney in. You're going on the road. This is going to be a tough game. I predicted the Steelers would win. If you want to hear my score, I did that wrong. I should have teased the standard. But if you want to hear my score at least, go listen to the standard. I kind of fumbled that. But, this is going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tough, rugged AFC North game. And, this is a game the Steelers have to win. They have to win this game. And this is a game where if that defense is as good as we think it is, they need to go out and eat. Eat them up, cookies, a roll with, I'm not going to give you any Cool Keith Ultramagnetic lyrics. Yes, I did say Cool Keith Ultramagnetic. Cool Keith was one of my favorite MCs. I like that prediction from Earl Lewis 17-9. But if you guys have any questions, is there anything you want me to jump on before I end the show? Make sure you ask me these questions. And I'm looking through the live chat, and I just was informed in the live chat that I have another show tomorrow, which was a surprise to me, but I always like doing shows. So, I'll bring you something real, something raw. Big up to Bill Davis for all the great comments in here. Big up to Isaac Aguilera from Bakersfield, California. By the way, Isaac, I don't know if you guys, did you know Joey Porter? I think Joey Porter's from Bakersfield. So I don't know. I just wanted to ask you that if you knew him. Wanted to chime through here, see if I see any questions that are worth asking. Yeah, Jeff said, make sure you all catch Lance Williams tomorrow on the burning question. Well, hopefully you guys can give me a burning question because I have to think of one for the next one. Yeah, so, and that's the thing with Knight Rider 16, and that's the last thing I want to say is that when stuff like this happens, it doesn't necessarily extend to all Black people and all African Americans. It's not a mark or a stain on me or anyone else. And this is a Myles Garrett issue. Myles Garrett doesn't have the power or the platform to do or say anything that's going to affect my life directly. I'm not going to give him that power, and you guys should not give him that power as well. Just deal with him as an individual. He's an individual. He made the statement. He will pay for the consequence of the statement if indeed the statement is not true, and many people believe it's not true. He does not have that power to impact my life from whatever he said or whatever he lied about, in my opinion. So he's not going to impact me. He's not going to impact my family or my children. I think that he was just misadvised on how to deal with this. You just simply appeal. When the appeal is not upheld, you go away and you try to get out of the public eye, work on yourself, and move forward and come back in better shape and kill it. And what you do is If you believe in your heart of hearts that he said it, when you play the Steelers the next time, you get 7 sacks. And you absolutely try to tear his head off within the rules. That's what you do. That's how you get people back. That's how you get people back. Snowman asked before we get out of here, will the defense bounce back? I didn't think the defense played particularly bad against the Browns. I think there was some coverage busts. I think there was a few mistakes here or there. But I think overall, I think the defense played pretty well in that game. And so, I don't think it's a bounce back for the defense. I think the Steelers actually have to go out and dominate. Let me jump into the next couple questions. Gyro asked, why have the Steelers not signed a veteran wide receiver yet? That's interesting. I think that they want to see how the young kids play. They want to see how the young men play. Because I think this is kind of like a developmental year. But they don't want to say it to the fan base that it's a developmental year. But this is an opportunity to get the young wide receivers and young players a ton of snaps. So when Big Ben comes back next year, they're ready to rock. Big up to Bill Davis for all of the thumbs up. I don't know what the coffee mugs mean, or maybe those are brew in the memes. I don't like brew. You got to put wine glasses in there. I mean, I'm a little bit older. I don't drink brew. I get a little bloaty. Maybe I'm sharing too much. But put some wine glasses in the meme next time. NDR asked, which free agent running backs would the Steelers choose right now if they had to go after somebody? I don't have the list. That's unfortunate. I don't have the list. That might be something that we deal with in the offseason because we talk a lot about that stuff. Jess George asked, Ben has always been fat and out of shape. He plays good fat. He's absolutely fat right now. Man, he looked like a mountain with hair on his chest. He looked out of shape. When they ran past me, I was like, wow, is that an offensive lineman? I had to pause the screen. And when I looked on the screen, I was like, that's Big Ben. Because me and Jeff have a running bet. Is Ben going to be $3 bills? I think Ben is going to be $3 bills. I think Ben is $3.25 right now. Holidays are coming. That boy eating. He is eating. He's eating turducken, turkey, everything. He's eating everything. Everything means everything. Let me just translate that. That means everything. Big up to Dion Murray. I'll take the wine glass. Or, of course, you can give me a little bit of cognac, baby. A little yak, a little Hennessy. Absolutely. I don't drink beautifuls. I do drink old fashions. And I do drink Manhattans. So big up to you guys with the wine and the cocktails. Robbie asks, is Deontay Johnson the real deal? I think he has real deal traits. I don't think he has number one wide receiver traits, but I think he has solid number two wide receiver traits. Kendall Fletcher asked, do you think playing conservative football on Sunday is a smart move? Yes. Do not turn the football over. I think if the Steelers don't turn the football over, they win. I think they have a defense that can control the rookie Ryan Finley and the Bungles offense. Do not turn the ball over. Let me jump into a couple more questions because you guys are rolling them questions out now. I was going to conclude the program, but you guys are just rolling the questions out now. Big up to Dion Murray, Steeler fan since 1979, Steeler fan since 1970. At birth, as soon as I came out the womb, I was a Steeler fan. Kenneth McNair Jr. asked, any chance Mason Rudolph has Jared Goff type growth from year one as a starter to year two as a starter? I don't know. I'll just be biased. I'm a Cal grad, so big up to Cal football. I don't think he's going to have that level of growth. And it's funny about Jared Goff. Jared Goff has kind of regressed a little bit. So I don't know. But that would be a nice jump. That's going to be a nice jump. I agree with Ryan Kellerman. Finley sucks. The defense is going to play like fire. And I think Mason Rudolph is going to come out on fire. I think Mason Rudolph is going to play very well. If they can get that front blocked, I think there are some opportunities to make some plays, and I think they can actually run it pretty well. Big up the Snowman, the OG Steeler fan since 1965. You are an OG. You are an OG, Snowman. Big up to you. Gyro asked again, will Mike Tomlin win Coach of the Year if the Steelers make the playoffs? No, absolutely not. He won't. He won't do it. They They think he's a motivator. They don't think he's an X and O's guys, and so they think he's a motivator. Um, Let me read this from Tom Vallejo. He said the following: I have the same cancer Connor had. I'm glad he got rid of his. So even though I know we need another running back, I just feel a connection towards him and hate to see him leave if we get a new running back. I feel you, man. I feel you. I've had several family members fight and beat that dreaded C. So I'm with you, man. I root for the kid every day. I just don't think he's the guy. I think he's a complimentary back. But that's not a bad thing. I mean, everybody can't be Earl Campbell. Everybody can't be Jerome Bettis. I mean, everybody can't be Franco Harris. Everybody can't be Jim Brown. You need a complimentary backs. You need a set of backs in the NFL right now to share the load, and he can be one of those guys. Alex Flores asked, do you think TJ Watt is going to be Defensive Player of the Year? No, I do not. Because the Steelers probably aren't going to win a division, and if they don't make the playoffs, he will not. Lee Willis asked, put $2 in a tip jar. Is a fullback that hard to find to replace Rosie? No, it's just that fullbacks are being phased out of professional football because a lot of times fullbacks aren't receiving threat. If you're a fullback like Juszczyk in San Francisco, then absolutely you'll play. But you have to be a receiving threat. I just think that the fullback is being phased out. Michael #90. If Mason doesn't show up by halftime, should you put in Duck Dynasty? Absolutely not. You just got to ride with him. You got to ride with him, and he has to get better. Do you think Ben Northtop asked, do you think Ben has comeback player of the year in him? Well, if he gets that weight off, I mean, comeback. How about comeback weight of the year? Reginald Rivers asked, are Jeff and the other guys big college football fans like you? Jeff's probably worse than me when it comes to college football. But everybody, I'm going to go ahead and conclude the show. It's been a fantastic show. Big up the Football Drones for the $10 contribution, my man, Roberto Duran. Let me get to this last question because George Teston asked a $5 question. Do you think platooning Rudolph and Hodges during the game is a bad idea? Absolutely. What's the saying? If you have two quarterbacks, if you have two average quarterbacks, you don't have one good one. I mess up cliches. But no, you can't platoon in the National Football League. You got to rock with one. If you come out of this year and you do not know if Mason Rudolph is your guy, then the season is failed. It's failed. It's absolutely failed. You have to figure out if Mason Rudolph is your guy. But with that, we're going to conclude the program. And as always, tune in, tell a friend, and subscribe.